The short reading to be shared in this video is from an old and key text in the Dzogchen tradition. It focuses on the tool of sound as an aid in practice, and it addresses the realization of the enlightened condition in the manifest realm of form, in other words, the physical dimension. In English, the title of the text has been variously translated as The Reverberation of Sound, Penetration of Sound, The Direct Consequences of Sound, Interpenetrating Vibration, and Transcendental Sound. And the Tibetan title has been known as, right here, Sagral Thalgir, or the Draw Thalgir, in case you look up on the internet. And for some background summary on the Dzogchen tradition itself, you can visit the above URL. Some summary background that I prepared a few years back. Just a year or so ago, Christopher Wilkinson finally translated the Sagral Thalgir into English. And I think the community of Namkhai Norval, who recently died, is working on the commentary to that. So this is a short reading that I'm sharing from chapter 1 of this very long text, otherwise known as Tantra. It supposedly originates apparently from the Swat Valley region of today Pakistan, back in the 700s, when Tibet was just forming its first imperial kingship unifying rule. The king was informed of various Buddhist teachings. He was interested in that. And one of the leading Buddhist figures, Padmasambhava, informed him of Dzogchen teachings. And basically, he had them sought out, which were masters in the northwest region, furthest northwest regions of India at that time, in the Swat Valley. And they were brought into Tibet, and this is considered to be one of the texts that was brought into Tibet. Now, the reason why I'm doing this short reading, first of all, in 1986, in Namkhai Norval's Crystal and the Way of Light, I read the following eye-opening paragraph, which I printed out here, so I'll be reading from that. To understand and enter the primordial state, one does not need intellectual, cultural, or historical knowledge. It is beyond intellect by its very nature. Yet when people encounter a teaching they have not heard of before, one of the first things they may want to know is where this teaching arose, where it came from, who taught it, and so on. This is understandable, but Dzogchen itself cannot be said to belong to the culture of any country. There is a Tantra of Dzogchen, the Draw Thalgir, for example, that says that the Dzogchen teaching can be found in 13 solar systems other than our own. So we can't even truly say that the Dzogchen teaching belongs to this planet Earth, much less to any particular national culture. Although it is true that the tradition of Dzogchen that we are about to consider has been transmitted to the culture of Tibet, that has harbored it ever since the beginning of recorded history in Tibet, we nevertheless cannot finally say that Dzogchen is Tibetan because the primordial state itself has no nationality and is omnipresent. And then, in 1999, he wrote in a book, called The Supreme Source, co-written with Adriano Clemente. And this is this book right here. He wrote the following. The traditional texts assert that the promulgation of the Dzogchen teaching is not limited to the human world. For example, the Tantra, the all-surpassing sound, Sagral Thagir, explains that it is found in no less than 13 solar systems, Thalba, as well as our own, and describes minutely, albeit cryptically, the location of these worlds and the characteristics of the beings that inhabit them. So, now that we have the English translation finally done, like I noted before by Chris Wilkinson, I believe that was done, I have the date here, well, I think it was 2016 or 2017. It was just maybe within the year. And I will begin with the description of the 13 planets as translated by him. And I'll be reading from this. The world that is below this one, that is called consequential melody, has a vastness that is difficult to estimate and is brilliantly beautiful. It surrounds our cause, our conditions, and our true natures with our teacher's teachings. Above it, below it, in the directions and their borders, the breath of the water is a pleasant experience. Its display is well adorned. Then 6 worlds below that, there is what is called retaining consequences. The shape of its will is pristine. These are the teachings of our teacher, so they are very true. The second is the well-adorned display. After that, to the right of the 3 worlds, there is what is called grief over consequences. It is everywhere adorned with rubies. Its lights and colors are definitely clear. It is a field in which the teachings of our teacher are in control. It has its individual rights that make use of heat. Next, above these 6 worlds, there is what is called pervasive consequences. It is shaped like a blooming lotus. It is most pervasive and has an even surface. An assortment of lights blaze. Their colors are white and red. When our vision is distorted, rough reflections will not appear. The teachings of our teacher reveal our gathering and our spreading. These are called consequences that conclude the eon. The world that is above this one, the highest of which surpass 19, is called the Club of Consequences. It is brilliantly cultivated and is a delightful experience. It is definitely adorned with an assortment of precious symbols in the style of holding them up. The teachings of our teachers have 2 perfections, which are displayed by a necklace of skulls. From there, in the northeast of the world, there is what is called the River of Consequences. It resembles the shape of a stupa. Its terraces are beautiful. It's everywhere adorned with the 5 displays. It is the ground from which a variety of melodious sounds emerge. Our teacher's teachings will definitely appear in time. 21 worlds above there is the pervasion of brilliant consequences. In the true nature in which our visualizations appear, there appears a pristineness that has no outside or inside. The teachings of our teacher are taught to the elements. The cause and condition for our creation is Vishnu. From there, the world that is to the southeast, to the left, when the realms of the world are more than 6, there is what is called the sound of consequence. It is brilliantly splendid. Victory banners, umbrellas, and the rest are erected there. There are flowers, fresh rains, and scents. They make our teacher himself and his teachings beautiful. He is surrounded by a gathering of reflections that bring out the playfulness of bliss. From there is a world to the southwest to the right. It is below the one that goes beyond the six. It is the wind of consequence. It moves and shakes, so we fly and move backward and forward through the sky. From out of this movement, sound emerges. The teachings of our teacher are blowing in the wind. The application for maintaining the five is the three. Then 13 constructions above that, there is what is called the jewel of consequence. It is adorned with the sons of well-being. It is ornamented with the good things we desire. The practices and the writings it emulates are beautiful. The image of our teacher's teachings is perfect. His five-pointed lotus eyes make him beautiful. From there, above the northwest border, in the six realms of the world, there is what is called the consequence of gathering. Our offerings are perfect, so we are with goddesses. We are elated by the light, and there is the smell of sandalwood. Our teacher's teachings are of equal parts. Our beautiful bodies are 16 years old. We are surrounded by those that are brilliantly young. 9 worlds below that, there is what is called the God of Consequence who bears a conch. We are maddened by the smell of our breath and voice. There is a flashing and brilliantly blazing light. The brilliantly red is in the union with the red. Our teacher himself, his teachings, and his entourage are a perfect pleasure. From there is a world that is at war. It is called the consequence of the stars. The form of the wheels that are constructed there uses 5s and 9s for all that it constructs. It is ornamented with hanging bouquets where the red tongues of the dragon's lightning sound emerge. The teachers of our teacher are surrounded by the wind and strings of light-emitting jewels, while the spears of the Nagas shine out in every direction and border. The Nagas, of course, that ends that excerpt, but the Nagas, of course, are the half reptile, half human form, common in Indian culture stories. And that concludes the reading.